Hello, everyone. My name is Lacas, and it's a great honor to welcome you today. Thank you for being with us. We are reunited at the invitation of the EUNIC network in Montreal, bringing together various national institutes of culture of the European Union. Cartooning for Peace is pleased to propose the second online conference. The first one was in French in June. Press cartoons, free to laugh, is our subject today. I'd like to mention the Consulate General of France in Quebec City, the Istituto Italiano di Cultura in Montreal, the Embassy of Austria in Ontario, and the Goethe Institute in Montreal.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I have a special guest, like you may see. I'm gonna present them in a few minutes. Today is a special day, September the 21st. It's the World Peace Day, and it's also Cartooning for Peace 15th birthday. Congratulations. And as you may see, the discussion is online, of course, due to the pandemic, but you will see, however, that despite this physical distance, we have many things that bring us together. Let me refer first to a very interesting article by Marion Dupont on the French Culture website to start our discussion. So, humor, laughing, is central to the critical work of most press cartoonists. You will see. It has shown to be essential in times of crisis, but at the same time, it's not unanimously sanctioned, whether by some authorities or by part of the citizen. Press cartoon, their satirical message do not necessarily make everyone laugh anymore. Marion Dupont refers to the assassination of Samuel Paty in 2020 for showing cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in class. She also mentions the New York Times decision to remove the cartoon from its page. So caricature does not escape criticism. It doesn't seek unanimity, of course. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Une image vaut 1000 mots. That's what we say in French. But can we laugh at everything or everyone? And with everyone, do we have to learn to laugh again or to make people laugh? There is also a cancel culture movement. Perhaps in the last few weeks, you have heard about this news. Here in Canada, a Francophone Ontario School Board decided to dispose or burn 5,000 books deemed to contain outdated, inappropriate depiction of Indigenous people. Novel, comics book, encyclopedia, Tintin, Astérix, Lucky Luke. It happens, and reactions have been strong. On the French television, Natasha Polony said, when a book is a problem, we debate it, we think about this problem, and we teach. To burn books is to stop thinking, even if it's for the good cause and for anyone's sake. So can we apply this reflection to today's subject? That's what we'll see. I would like to introduce you my guest. First, there is Guy Bado. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Guy, also known as Bado, is a Canada cartoonist for the daily newspaper Le Droit in Ottawa. He's there since 1981. He has won the Canadian National Newspaper Award in 1991. He has put his marks on many newspapers, including the Gazette, the Devoir, Le Jour Hebdo. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Dorthe Landschulz is born in Hamburg, in Germany. You studied illustration in Hamburg. Also, you studied at the National High School of Decorative Arts in Paris, and you currently work as a freelance cartoonist. You started doing press cartoon 10 years ago, around 2011 already?
Yeah.
And you published 4 cartoon books. Thanks also for joining us.
Thank you.
From Italy, we have Marco De Angelis, professional journalist, editorial cartoonist, illustrator of many children's books, and graphic designer. You publish on 200 newspapers in Italy and abroad. You were a journalist, cartoonist for the dailies La Repubblica, Il Popolo, Il Messaggero, and you're now editor-in-chief of the magazine online Boudoir. Thanks for joining us. And Daniel Jokesch. Jokesch is working as an illustrator, editorial cartoonist for the Austrian newspaper Tiroler Tageszeitung and Wiener Zeitung. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Bonjour.
Nice to meet you all. So here is my first question. You sent us cartoons for today, and everyone proposed one about, of course, the pandemic. How this crisis, very polarizing, is echoed in your work. Is it a daily challenge for you? Because we know it's a health crisis. There is also political issue. And maybe I can start by Bado.
Yes.
Guy?
We.
How do you, how this crisis echoed your work? Was it easy? Is it a challenge every day? How do you react?
It was easy at the beginning because it was a new subject, but obviously, as time goes by, it gets more difficult. Mind you, there are differences, keeping your distance and the demonstrations against the mask. So there's always a new subject, but I try to vary because I don't want to bore people with sad news every day.
Yeah, experts agree people are more stressed, maybe angry,
Yes.
sensitive.
Yes.
Marco, does it have an impact in your work?
Sorry?
Expert agreed people are more stressed, more angry, sensitive. Is it something that you see in your work? Do you try to make people laugh about this pandemic? And do you try to put a social message in it?
But I think that is very important. So the satire, the humor, for go in our life and to know and understand the facts and the news from all the world with a different view through the argument, through the facts. Now we still know how to laugh and satire, but many people have changed their sense of humor after many facts, dramatic facts, or the globalization through the social media. Now there is a tendency towards nonsense or insult instead of a reasoned humor. I think in my cartoons of a message for the mind, because I think it's important to the laws, but also to understand the significance.
Yeah. So you saw a difference in the reception of your work, of your cartoons. Dorthe, we also have examples of your work about the pandemic. Is it easy to find a way to help people maybe to go through that pandemic with a little bit of humor, or is it a daily challenge for you?
I think it's, for me, it was easy because my life didn't change so much in the pandemic. I always work alone at home, and for me, it was not so bad like for many other people. Or their life was changing and they were scared, and so I wanted to cheer them up a little bit, and I made, yeah, my goal with my cartoons at this time was always to make love or smile the people and don't be aggressive or against the politics and the mask and all this stuff. I wanted to make people laugh, make fun of it, to make it less scary.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it can be a part of your work. And you, Daniel?
Yeah, for me, it was a similar goal. And I also wanted to make cartoons that could be funny for everyone, because there was a big polarization in society. Exactly. And it was very hard to make a cartoon to make both sides laugh. And sometimes it succeeded very good, and this times I was very happy.
Yeah. And like you said, it can be part of your work, almost a mission, because sometimes when crises like that happen, people need to find a way to still be happy and laugh in their day. At the same time, all of you must depict political issues, wars, corruption. In the introduction, I mentioned the horrible death of Mr. Patsy. Marco de Angelis, you told me that you experienced censorships 3 years ago for one of your sketches. What happened exactly?
Yes, I realized a cartoon on the Courrier International, and in the edition, the Lebanon edition, it was an important episode, a partial censorship about cartoons on the Khamenei, the Ayatollah Khamenei. A Lebanese activist filed a lawsuit against several journalists, including a journalist and anchorman, that share my cartoons, my cartoon, and the copies of the Courrier International were covered with gray stickers. I have an example here. Courrier International with stickers on my cartoon.
Oh.
All the copies in Lebanon with stickers on my cartoon. And there were a lot of reactions in the country and on the web. Also, the general security explained that the service has taken this step because the projects, the cartoon undermines the and high religious personality who supports a large number of Lebanese people. Yeah. I had also other cases of censorship, but are not so censorship, but protests in the past for my cartoons on the daily newspapers, from parties or embassies. I remember the letters to my director when I was a young journalist, to my director from the from the Soviet Union embassy. And I remember that my director told me, no, okay, no problem. It's good. Okay, continue.
It's not something new, but we said that there is a lot of polarization right now. Danielle, is it something that you fear in your work, to be that censored?
Overall, I think it's a new kind of polarization, because we always had polarization, like in the questions of refugees or environment. And it was always a polarization between right and left. And now with the Corona crisis, we have a polarization. You can't see the borders among left and right as before. There are new borders between families, friends, everybody. So it's difficult to handle, because before you always knew if I draw this, the right will be angry about it or something. But now you don't know how people react, because it's something new.
And do you have to explain more your work, your choice, even in your family, your friend? Is it different? Did your relation with others change because of that polarization?
No, normally I try to make works that I don't have to explain anymore. Can be understood. Yeah, but sometimes it also happens that it seems to me that works are understood in a wrong way. It's
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yes. What do you want? Yes,
I'm working for the Stern. That's one of the biggest magazine in Germany, weekly magazine, and I did this cartoon about Afghanistan with the rubbish containers, glass, paper, women, and we always, not always, but sometimes we get letters from the readers. And there was a letter from a reader who said that the person who draw this cartoon has to be hit with a wet towel. So the cartoon is against the oppression of women and against violence. And the reader was angry at the point that he wanted to hit me with a wet towel, which is pretty violent, I think. So that was the hardest reaction I ever had for a cartoon.
And at that moment, did you fear for yourself, or you still feel safe because it's words, letters, nobody maybe decided to be as violent with you on the streets or maybe on your Facebook?
I don't feel I don't think that a person who writes a letter like this will come up for me. And I live in France, and the magazine is in Germany, so I'm very far. But no, I think most of the people who write letters, they only want to express the anger, and but they will never come to hit me on reality.
I hope so. We hope so.
I hope so.
Guy, we are in Canada.
Yes.
Do you think the situation is different here, or it's similar?
I think the only problem I have is political correctness. You know, it's for instance, I drew a cartoon about the Asterix and things like that. So I did a parody of Lucky Luke, because the people who were protesting about indigenous people not being portrayed favorably burned the books, or so it said in the article. So what I did is I drew a parody of Lucky Luke, and it's an Indian who's looking at smoke signals in the horizon, and he's saying, it's all very nice to be, you know, to send a strong message against stereotypes, but I can't understand what they're saying, you know, because the smoke signals, he couldn't understand what the smoke signals meant. But in order to make fun of stereotypes, I had to draw the Indian in a stereotype, you know. So I didn't go all the way to Lucky Luke. I gave him pants and things like that, but I put a feather on his because you see him from background. And that was, well, my editor was more afraid than I was. You know. That's the problem. It has to go through an editor before it's published. Yeah.
And you just said that he was a little bit afraid of how the readers would react.
Well, my editor was afraid. I wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
I've seldom have feedback. I've been drawing for, 40 years at Bado. And the only complaint was the first week that I worked at the paper from the British embassy. It was when Thatcher was prime minister, and there were hunger strikes in Ireland. And Margaret Thatcher said, well, and one guy died, from a hunger strike. And I had Thatcher saying, well, if they keep on dying, the problem will solve itself, So I had a big letter from the British High Commissioner, but, ever since, nothing. I guess people are used to my humor.
Yeah, because like we can see in all your cartoons, you have your style and people get used. But do you find, because you said you have something against political correctness, do you think that your readers have all the keys to understand your work? Because now your cartoon may be seen in Australia, in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Do you think everyone have all the clue they need to understand your work?
Yes, fortunately, I work in let's say a small newspaper. If I worked in Montreal or Paris or Rome, it would be different, or I would get more exposure. I think I have only 2,000 subscribers on Twitter, so it's not, not like others. So, unfortunately, it's very nice to be in Ottawa because it's the capital, so I could do international cartoons.
Because it's
the capital.
Part
of, yeah.
Exactly. Daniel, Guy spoke about political correctness. It also opened the door about the cancel culture. Is it something that you have to deal with?
Well, normally, before I start making a cartoon, well, normally I know what to do, but if, as Bado said, it also happens to me that the editor says, well, this might be a problem. It's mostly in the cases when I deal also when I deal with stereotypes. For example, with Corona, yes, you had to do something with Chinese, and sometimes the editor said, well, this might be a problem.
Okay. What do you do when it happens? Do you
when it happens? Well, it happens. I say, okay. I say to you, have to decide. It's your newspaper, and well, it's I make a new cartoon.
Okay. So you did.
But it happens. It happens very seldom. I think in 2-3 years, once a time. So it's not very often.
Yeah, it's not every day.
No.
No, not every day.
Yeah. But I'm always also very surprised what has problems. For example, this year I had some cartoon with Chinese things, and I didn't expect that anybody would see a problem. Other times I made cartoons. For example, I made about the Austrian finance ministry, and I made a pig where you can throw the money in with a burqa. And it got edited, the cartoon, but afterwards I thought, well, this might be a problem. I make a pig with a burqa.
Okay.
But there were no problems. I don't know why, because
sometimes you're even surprised that there is.
In these cases, I'm always surprised in which cartoons somebody sees problems and in which not. So it's.
Yeah. Do you have the same surprise sometimes, Dorthe?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have an example? You seem to have maybe one example for us?
Yeah, I don't know if you can show this cartoon. I made a cartoon. It was a Corona cartoon about you see a guy with des boutons. Comment on dit les plein de boutons. The spots. Yeah, it's a cartoon on
acne.
The right. Acne.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it was only to say that that young people like maybe the mask to cover up their imperfections, and one guy wrote a letter about this cartoon that it was against young people with acne, and he was really angry about this, and he said you can't do cartoons and you can't do fun about these poor young people with acne. And so I understood at this time that every person who looks at the cartoon has his sensibility, his proper sensibility, and you can't give attention to every little sensitivity in the world. So you have to decide for you when you're a cartoonist, what do you think is funny, what do you think is good to make, and after if there's someone who is angry about it, so what?
Yeah, you cannot please everyone.
No.
Guy, you raise your hand.
Yes, I was just looking at the cartoon with acne. The problem with the cartoon is even if you had not drawn acne, they would have complained about the teeth, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Marco, did you experience the same thing? People, minorities, maybe groups who do not like the way you depict them?
Yes, this subject is very interesting because politically correct is a concept born with positive and just intentions, but now is turning into a phenomenon of exasperation, a kind of dictatorship of stupidity. Will not longer allow us to speak and will no longer make us smile about anything. It's very difficult to create cartoons about several arguments, social groups or religions or political or men, women, about some transgender and other. We have to make attention, of course, but humor is humor. The satire is fundamental to know the world, to understand the facts. Also, the cancel culture, I think, is a cultural madness. A reading of everything with the reinterpretation, the destruction of characters, facts, scientific evidence. I think is the one of the worst problem of our time.
Yeah.
For the satire for our job.
Exactly, because at the beginning we said one of the questions was, does it have to make laugh everyone? And a cartoon is not funny for everyone. It's part of the deal, maybe.
For example, my cartoon about with the balloons is this is my thing, my thought about the situation, the police that try to stop the creativity, the satire, but it's impossible. And I hope in the future with more strong of our creativity.
Yeah, and cancel culture is something, but it's a large team, we agree, but that's something that we are more and more confronted to, like representation of women and minorities, religion. And do you fear the weakening of public debate? Daniel said earlier that sometimes he may decided not to do a cartoon about a topic, a subject. Is it something that you experience? One day you would have liked to do something and you won't because you don't want to be cancelled, maybe. Dorthe?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I.
No.
I work since I started making cartoons. I always worked on Facebook. I always published my work on Facebook, and so I was a little bit trained by the reaction of my followers, and so I started to know what cartoon they will find funny and what they don't like. And it was a little bit like a training camp for later for the newspapers. And and I think I'm, like I said before, I want to make love people. This is my first goal. And if I can make them think about something, a situation, a bad situation in the world, like in Afghanistan, it's better. But I'm not very aggressive in my cartoons. So it happened not so often to me I nearly never was cancelled. Maybe like for Daniel, one time in 3 years or 2 times, I don't know.
Yeah, not often. And laugh, is it your main purpose also, Guy? Make people laugh? Yeah.
Well, you know, it's part of the problem. I like to make them think also, but it's easier to have a strong message if you sugarcoat it. You know, if you have if you make people laugh and then they think. You know,
Yes.
To go back to political correctness, if I may, I had a problem a few years ago. Very big controversy. I didn't realize there was a bus accident where I think everybody died. You know, it was a hockey team. They were coming back from a hockey game, and a truck struck them on the side, and it was a big tragedy that had occurred also 25 years ago. So the team name was the same. So I did a parallel image. One image was 25 years ago, and the second image was inspired by what had happened at the Bataclan. When the police came into the Bataclan, it's all the corpse, people were calling, they were phoning, So all the iPhones, you know, all the phones were ringing while everybody was dying. You know? So I did the bus over, you know, overturned, and you could see beeps, you know, ta 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 ta. And I had the same complaint from young people saying that I was making fun of youth, that they were more interested in being on Twitter or Facebook than caring about the accident. It was completely, you know.
Not your intention.
No, that was not my intention. No, my intention was their parents were sad. They were trying to make sure that their sons were alive, and it was perceived as making fun of youth, you know. So it was, you know, really. The editor had to.
You must have been surprised of the reaction.
I was. It was crazy, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have an explanation why young people are so maybe that sensibility, the way you depict them? Because Dorthe said, I first posted on Facebook. So do you think that social networks changed something?
Well, it was not a message against social network. It was just a fact of life. You know, maybe, you know, the problem is I don't think I should have. Do you have to put an asterisk and say at the Bataclan, you know, the phones were ringing, and this cartoon refers to that? You know, there's a second degree that people should make the effort instead of reacting without thinking.
And that is good. That's a good question, because you said it, and I'm going to ask you the question, all of you. How does a cartoonist feel when you have to explain his cartoon? Yeah. How do you react? Is it first like you don't understand, then you try to give keys to your reader? How do you react first when people you can see they do not understand what you do?
Well, that's a problem with internet, you know, because in other countries you don't have the same cultural references, you know. So, but when it happens in your own country, in your own city, then you say, oh my God, you know, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Marco, you how do you react when a reader wants you to explain your work?
I remember a TV program when I created a cartoon live, and the anchorman told me, please explain your cartoon. That's incredible. But I think it's important. I have seen that now the people had a different view of humor that in the past. I think because on the internet with the social media is born a new type of humor with a tendency toward nonsense, with violence, with conflict every day through the persons, and the cartoons with a metaphor, a surreal message, only with the graphic comment, is not in the spirit of these persons. They love only the easy gag or insult or dramatization of every argument.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for a cartoonist to to speak to the people of the social network. There are some cartoons about the freedom of thought, or in the previous image there are also a cartoon in the middle of a stick, the power stick, and the knife of the terrorist. There is a cartoon about the murder of Paty, Samuel Paty, one of the most barbaric acts of the recent years. We are, as journalists and cartoonists, are dealing with a melange of intolerance, dullness, extremism that condition education, culture, and information. Is very difficult. There is also my Ayatollah Khamenei that was censored in is a gag cartoon, so not the editorial cartoon. But the extremists of Islamic extremists of Lebanon protested. And the third cartoon was created about the famous case of censorship of New York Times, that about the editorial cartoon of
Antonio.
Yes.
And what was because it was one of my questions, what was the reaction when you learned that the New York Times didn't want cartoon anymore?
Actually, the New York Times does not publish cartoons.
No,
it was what happened was that the internet, Chapat and Eng from I think it's in China, were published in the Herald Tribune, which was bought by the New York Times. So it was it's only internationally, but it was you know, I think it was a mistake from the paper to publish the original cartoon, but instead of, you know, going against the editor who published it, they went against a cartoonist, and then they went against all the cartoonists, which is ridiculous, you know.
But the decision of New York Times was very hard for the cartoonists, because not only for the fixed collaborators as Chapat, but the New York Times had also the syndicate that distributed my cartoons and many other cartoonists worldwide, and the syndicate stopped all the distribution. Yeah,
so it was a decision with a big impact on cartoonists. Like you said, we talked about also the second degree. Is it something we need to teach to younger generation, to other culture? Because it's a part of your work, a big part of your work. People need to understand there is the drawing and there is all what it means. Secondary is something that is less understand right now. Do you think it's harder than before, Daniel?
I just what I wanted to say to the New York Times is that the impact maybe also was, it's just not the New York Times, but the New York Times is a newspaper. Every newspaper of quality in the world says, I want to be like the New York Times. So we cartoonists had to be afraid, well, now the New York Times, but who will follow? Especially to young people, I think humor is a question of generations. For example, I myself grew up with the humor very strongly with the humor of Monty Python's, very absurd humor, surreal, and now in the younger generations, I think I don't know if they understand it in this way as I understand it, because yeah, there's a new humor without offending anybody, and there are also other problems. Especially, I make many cartoons about social media and internet, and for me, these are new things. I grew up in a world without cellular phones, without internet, without social media, and so I often make jokes about the world living with all these things. And I think for a 20 years old person, they cannot understand what I find funny about it, because yeah, these are different aspects of humor between generations.
I don't think the Twit Olympics would run today. You know, the Monty Python, the guys.
Yeah.
Exactly. And do you have a lot of reaction exactly when you do like the one we have here? Two guys. One is with his square and telling that I have a thing called internet, and it will confirm that my wheel works better than yours. Do you have a lot of reaction when you draw things like that from the young generation?
No, for this, especially for this cartoon, I didn't have special reactions. I don't even remember if I posted it on Facebook. Okay. As Dorthe said, this is also a good training for me, because in the newspapers, well, sometimes we get letters, sometimes not, but in social media, you really can see how a cartoon works.
Yeah.
And there are always also surprises, because sometimes I think, well, this is a really good cartoon, and then nobody likes it. And otherwise I think, well, this is not funny, and then I get thousands of likes. So but it's good to learn what works and what not. So
it's very useful when you are trying to collect cartoons for a cartoon collection. Yes. If you're doing a book, you go.
We first said that people need to laugh. It's your purpose in your cartoons, because everything goes so fast. We're in the middle of the pandemic. You are freelance sometimes, or you work for a newspaper, well-established newspaper. Is there a difference, you think, when you do it as a freelance, or like Bado? He said he'd like to do it in Ottawa. He knows for who is doing his cartoons. I would like to hear about that.
Well, I'm a freelancer now because
I'm a freelancer now. Okay. Yes. Is it a difference, or it's universal and it's nice to maybe publish in different newspaper because it's not the same public, the same readers?
No. The only difference is you don't argue as much with your editor.
Okay. It's easier.
Yes.
Because and do you have a lot of maybe I'll ask Dorthe, do you have to convince a lot editors to take your cartoons, or you prefer, like you said, you can put it on Facebook, have your own readers?
I like the two. I must say that without Facebook, I wouldn't be here, because I started on Facebook, and then the people liked my cartoons and followed me, and that was encouraging me. I don't know if you can. It gave me power, and after that, now I like to publish in newspapers, and I'm really lucky that I have this cartoon plays weekly in the magazines Stern. And it's really the best place for me, because they never tell me what to do. it's freedom for me. I can make whatever I want. Sometimes I make a joke, only a joke, and sometimes, like with the Afghanistan cartoon, I try to give a message. And for me, the climate change, it's a big subject, and I always want to change the world. I know it's not possible, but I like that idea that that many people will see my picture, my drawing in the magazine, and maybe they will think a little bit about it. And so yeah, I like the two.
The two. Danielle, do you still want to change the world either?
The world.
Do you want to change the world?
Oh yes, I would like to change the world, but I don't have the illusion that with cartoons I will do that. Overall, I know that my cartoons I make for the readers that mostly think the same way I do. So it's not. I think most of the readers do so. But no, I don't think that I can make a cartoon and somebody reads the cartoon and then says, "Oh, I have to think in a different way."
Yeah, I don't think that
would be nice, but
but maybe sometimes you can open mind. You can, because it's in an image you have a story. You have, like Dorthe said, you can talk about the environment crisis, the situation in Afghanistan, the pandemic. So yes, we can laugh, and at the same time we learn something in your cartoon.
I don't think you can convert people. The only thing you can do is comfort. You know, people see the cartoon and say, "Ah, I'm not alone," to things like that. You know.
Yeah.
yes.
I think that's the positive thing that you can do, because people are, they don't, even today more, because you have less contacts, so it's comforting to think that you're not alone, to think, to have the
Excuse me, excuse me to interrupt. Can we dedicate the 5 last minutes to some Q&A?
Yes.
We received some questions on the chat. Marie-Ève, I send them to you.
Yeah, let me open my Q&A. Okay. One of the questions is about social media. We talked about. They want to know, how did the concept of local become? Because there is all that possibility now to be around the world with your work. So how did the concept of local become?
It's a very complicated question, I don't understand the question.
Local.
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 The proximity, and the proximity instead of maybe like, do you first draw for the people around you in your city, in your country, or maybe you already think that it can spread over the world?
What sometimes happens, it's that you make one cartoon, and you're surprised that you find some days or weeks later this cartoon in other countries. I made the cartoon for the Stern in German, and somebody took the photo of the cartoon and posted it on Facebook, and after that other people translated it into English and to French, and this cartoon was in Australia, and sometimes this is working, and I like it when it's like that. But I think it's the same that said Bado, that you make cartoons for the people who think a little bit like you in the newspapers and also on Facebook, because your followers, my followers, for example, they found me one after the other. Oh yeah, I like what she's, I like her humor. And so they're following me. And now I have a bunch of followers who like what I do and who think a little bit like me. And so we understand each other. They understand what I do, and I'm happy about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe Danielle or Marco, you have the same preoccupation?
Overall, I draw for the people, for the newspapers I work for, so very local. But you always has to keep it in mind that then they go online and then you don't know where they get. As Dorthe said, they get translated from Australia back, and it also happened to me.
And Marco?
This is the power of internet and the social, because in the past we had also the reactions of the readers of our newspaper or the daily newspaper magazine. Now a cartoon had reactions from the other part of the world. Today, Cartoon Movement posted a cartoon about Putin that I created for the election in Russia, and I had a reaction from some Russian persons that no, this is is a fake democracy, not our power, our government. Okay, it's in the past it was impossible.
Exactly.
Then we have to consider that our cartoons are on the a global newspaper.
It may happen, exactly. It's now a possibility, and you have to be ready for that. The other question I have, there is so many technology right now. I don't know if you're familiar to the memes application, those images that you can find funny on phones. It's a capture sometimes of a TV show or someone on the street. It's very funny. And the question I have is making people laugh and think cartoons. Are they popular anymore in the age memes app generated jokes? You have
Okay.
Yeah.
The problem, I love memes. Memes are wonderful. The only thing is they don't have to wait until they're published. You can put a meme and it's out in the open immediately. The problem we have in newspapers is we have to think further than the memes, because we think there will be a meme about this, so you have to go, and not to be outpaced by somebody else. And the thing is, you don't know who creates the memes. It's probably 2,000 different people. And,
so there's a lot of work when you do a cartoon. It's an everyday work. You have to think, you have to be published. So.
Well, you have to go beyond the obvious. Sometimes it's obvious, like on September 11th, it was, do I do a crying Statue of Liberty? When people die, they go to heaven. You have to go further than that.
Further than that, exactly. Do you feel the same, the others?
Memes are all overall a real challenge, because before internet, something happened, and then the cartoonist thought about it, drew a cartoon, and then the next day it was in a newspaper, and maybe another newspaper with another cartoonist had the same idea. But now you also have to be careful that when something happens and you draw about it, that you don't use the same idea which was already used in thousands of memes. So it's always a challenge to have also a look of the memes and to think a little bit more. So I think it made
yeah. So and everyone
Makes life more interesting.
yeah, something more interesting you have to find. It's a challenge. It's I think the quality of cartoons, I think, got better by then because the cartoonists had to get better.
And you said everything goes faster right now. You have maybe sometime the news comes. Example, as a reporter, usually we had to do things in one day, reaction on the next day. Now everything is on the same day because everything goes so fast. Do you have to work faster than ever before? You still take time to do that reflection, to be sure that you'll do the cartoon you really want to.
There was a great cartoon in the New Yorker a few years ago. You had a drawing of a cartoonist at his drawing board, and the door is open, and his wife is at the door, and saying, "Stop your cartoon. Trump has already done this." You know.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's very interesting. I don't know. I think it's almost the end. It went so fast. Maybe do we have time for another question or not? That's my question. But I'll ask one, and maybe we can overlap. And it's a big question, so maybe we won't have time for anyone. But if we had to meet in 5 years, example, for the same discussion, do you think it would be almost the same discussion, or your profession will change a lot? Is it something that you're seeing coming?
It's difficult.
Difficult question, yes. Very difficult.
Because everything goes so fast. We talked about cancel culture, the polarization. Sometimes do you fear for your profession, or you think we will continue to laugh about things? Do you think you will have your place in newspaper, on social media for the next years?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yes. I hope for you too, because
yeah.
But there are also reasons to be optimistic, because already 10 years ago I thought, well, in 5 years there will be no cartoonists anymore, because everything is full of memes on internet, and we are still here. So I think there's a reason to be optimistic also for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same with books. Like everyone said, with the internet and books will
disappear.
Yeah, disappear. Books will disappear, but there are still books, and so maybe we are lucky and we will still be here in 5 years.
I'm preparing one for the end of the year.
Oh, quand même.
Yes.
That's very nice. So I think that's all the time we had. Thank you for sharing us your works, your ideas. It was very interesting. 21, the 21st September, like we said, it's an important day. So to talk about freedom of speech was very important. I want again to thank Cartooning for Peace and EUNIC, which made this conference possible. My name is Maria Lacas, and I hope you enjoy your hour with us. And good day to you. Good day all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, Marco.
Ciao.
Ci vediamo prossimo.
Bene.
Spero.
Ci conto, verrò io da te.
Sì.
Thank you.
Tschüss.
Grazie.